play it across for Lane Hutson. Hutson, a little shimmy and a shake and a shot towards the net. Bouncing puck in front, scores! Car keys and wallet, I think, are there too, but he skated away and left them. Here comes Hutson. Lane Hutson scores!
The NHL has a problem. Not a scandal, not a lockout, not even a rulebook controversy. No, this is a Lane Hutson problem, because when Hutson hits the ice, he doesn't just play defense. He doesn't just join the rush. He becomes the rush. He's the closest thing hockey has seen to a fourth forward disguised as a defenseman, up there with Makar. And that's not supposed to happen at the NHL level. Teams are built on structure. Coaches live and die by systems. Every play is diagrammed on whiteboards, every breakout rehearsed, every penalty kill fine-tuned to the inch. And then Lane Hutson hops over the boards, tosses the entire script in the shredder, and makes the game chaos. The problem isn't that he's too small or too flashy. The problem is that he's so good, so unpredictable, that other teams' systems fall apart when he's out there. You've seen the highlight reels, the no-look passes, the rushes that leave broadcasters speechless. But what you might not realize is that Hutson is changing the sport in real time, and that is why the NHL has a Hutson problem. In 2022, every NHL general manager had the chance to call Lane Hutson's name, and every single one passed at least once. Most of them passed twice, some passed 3 times. Why? Size. At 5 feet 9 inches and around 160 pounds, Hutson was one of the smallest defensemen ever measured at the combine. Scouts didn't see an NHL blue liner. They saw a liability. Too risky. Too soft. Not built for 82 games. These weren't whispers, they were the scouting consensus. Montreal, almost as an afterthought, grabbed him 62nd overall, a pick they got from Edmonton in exchange for Brett Kulak. Nobody circled the pick. No panel declared it a steal. It barely made headlines. At best, Hutson was projected as a power play specialist, maybe a sheltered third pair guy if things broke right. But hockey history is full of these moments. The draft day shrugs that turn into franchise cornerstones. Hutson didn't just fall in the draft, he fell into the perfect storm. A team desperate for playmaking, a fan base hungry for the next superstar, and a city that devours doubt and spits out legends. 2 years later, every GM who passed on him is rewatching the draft tape and cringing. Most rookies tiptoe into the NHL. They keep their shifts safe. They move the puck quickly. They avoid mistakes. Not Lane Hutson. From his first game, he played like he owned the rink, running breakouts, quarterbacking the power play, carrying the puck into the zone with the poise of a 10-year veteran. It was electrifying. Fans didn't just see flashes, they saw full highlight packages in real time. Head fakes that made forecheckers bite, no-look passes that froze defenders, patience at the blue line that turned ordinary plays into scoring chances. And every time he made a mistake, he shrugged it off and tried again. Critics scoffed. Too risky, too loose, too small. They said the NHL would grind him down, but by mid-season, he wasn't just in the Calder conversation, he was leading it. And that's when coaches across the league started realizing this wasn't a rookie problem, this was a system problem. Here's the heart of it. Lane Hutson doesn't play like a defenseman, he plays like a fourth forward. Every time he's on the ice, opponents face an impossible question. Do you treat him as a defenseman and stay in your structure, or do you treat him as a forward and blow up your system trying to contain him? Neither answer works. He pinches deep into the zone, creating 2-on-1s that shouldn't exist. He jumps into rushes so often that Montreal looks like they're running a permanent odd man attack. He's in the slot 1 second, on the half wall the next, then back at the blue line quarterbacking before you can blink. Coaches hate unpredictability. Systems are designed to neutralize predictable patterns, and Hutson is the opposite of that. He bends the game until it breaks. That's the Hutson problem. You can't game plan for him because he isn't playing by the same rules. Hutson's unpredictability isn't random, it's calculated. His entire game is built on deception, fake shots that make goalies bite, shoulder shimmies that send forecheckers the wrong way, passes through traffic that seem impossible until they're taped to tape on a teammate's stick. Last season, he ranked among the league leaders in slot pass completions. Not just for rookies, for all defensemen. He creates scoring chances the way elite playmaking centers do. And here's the kicker. Everyone knows he's looking to pass, and they still can't stop him. Controlled zone entries? He's elite. Power play setups? He runs them like a maestro, turning Montreal from one of the league's worst power plays into a legitimate weapon. Agility? He doesn't burn players with speed. He cuts them to pieces with edge work and timing. This is chaos by design. Hutson turns order into disorder, and disorder into scoring chances. The Canadiens weren't supposed to climb the standings yet. They were rebuilding, stockpiling prospects, and waiting for the future to arrive. But the thing about the future is that sometimes it shows up early, and Lane Hutson forced it through the front door. Before he joined the lineup, Montreal's power play was predictable. Entries stalled at the blue line, shots came mostly from the outside, and defenses collapsed on Suzuki and Caulfield, daring the Canadiens to beat them with secondary options. The team ranked near the bottom of the league, and every failed man advantage drained momentum. Then Hutson arrived and everything changed. Zone entries became controlled, not chaotic. His skating and edge work allowed him to glide past pressure instead of surrendering the puck. Once inside the zone, he didn't just keep the cycle alive, he created entirely new passing lanes. With one shoulder dip, he pulled penalty killers out of position. With a quick fake at the blue line, he bought Caulfield that extra half second for a one-timer. Montreal's power play climbed nearly 10 spots in efficiency. It wasn't just about Hutson racking up assists, it was about the ripple effect. Suzuki suddenly had more time to operate in the middle. Caulfield got cleaner looks. Even guys like Slavkovsky and Doc found themselves in higher danger areas because defenses couldn't collapse the same way anymore, and it carried into 5-on-5. For years, Montreal's breakouts had been a glaring weakness. With Hutson, the puck started leaving the defensive zone with control, not desperation. Every clean exit fed the forwards in stride. Every quick transition tilted the ice. This wasn't just a rookie slotting in, it was a rookie transforming the system. Montreal didn't just improve around him, they started depending on him. In a city where media pressure can crush players twice his size, Hutson didn't just meet expectations, he created a new one. Montreal wasn't waiting for him to be a star, they needed him to be one right away, and against all odds, he was. Of course, not everything is perfect, and the conversation around Hutson's defense hasn't gone away. He's undersized, he gets out-muscled in battles against heavier forwards. There are still clips of him losing positioning or getting leaned on by bigger players. Those flaws are real, and they're exactly what opposing coaches try to exploit. But here's the other side of it. Hutson is one of Montreal's most efficient defensemen when it comes to takeaways and exits under pressure. Where many rookies panic and chip the puck away, he has the vision to hold it that extra beat, shift his edges, and slip a pass through traffic. Suddenly, what looked like a defensive breakdown becomes an odd man rush the other way. That's the paradox. His size makes him a target, but it also lures teams into overcommitting. They think they can pin him, they double team him, and in doing so, they stretch themselves thin. And Hutson, with his hockey sense, almost always finds the opening they've left behind. Is his defense flawless? Number. Will the playoffs test him in ways the regular season hasn't? Absolutely. But framing it as a fatal flaw ignores the truth. Hutson is already turning those situations into advantages. He's not a shutdown defenseman. He probably never will be, but he doesn't need to be. His defense doesn't just hold, it feeds directly into offense, and that trade-off still tilts the game in Montreal's favor. The rookie race was stacked. Macklin Celebrini, the 18-year-old phenom. Matvei Michkov, dazzling with highlight reel goals. Dustin Wolf, carrying a weak roster on his shoulders. And yet, Hutson pulled away. By January, he led rookies in power play points. By February, he broke Montreal's rookie defenseman assist record. By March, his highlights were viral every week. The Bell Center crowd wasn't just cheering for him, they were chanting his name. And this is Montreal, the hardest market in hockey, the city that eats young players alive. Hutson didn't just survive it, he thrived in it. By season's end, the Calder vote wasn't even close. Hutson had outproduced the forwards, outshined the goaltenders, and outlasted every narrative stacked against him. Montreal finally had its rookie legend, and the league had its problem. Now the question isn't if Hutson belongs, it's how high he can climb. The optimists see Quinn Hughes, an undersized offense-first defenseman who added strength, refined his reads, and became a Norris-caliber superstar. Hutson has the vision, agility, and offensive instincts to follow that path if he continues to evolve. Others compare him to Chris Letang, unpredictable, relentless, sometimes chaotic, but a difference maker in the biggest moments. A player who thrives when the pace is highest, and who can anchor a cup-winning team even if he makes the occasional mistake. But the skeptics bring up names like Shane Gostisbehere or Samuel Girard, players who burst into the league with fireworks only to plateau when their defensive flaws never fully disappeared. If Hutson doesn't add strength or sharpen his reads, the fear is that he could fall into that category, dazzling but ultimately limited. The truth lies somewhere in between, and it depends on what Hutson does next. His hockey IQ is undeniable, his passing is world class, his agility ability creates time and space that shouldn't exist, but his shot is still below average, and playoff hockey will test his ability to withstand pressure against the league's most physical teams. If he bulks up, improves his defensive positioning, and develops even a moderate shooting threat, the ceiling is enormous. We could be talking about a Norris Trophy contender within a few years. If not, he still projects as a top-end power play quarterback and one of the most creative defensemen in the league. But here's what sets him apart. Hutson has already proven he doesn't settle for ceilings others build for him. He's been counted out at every level and has torn down those limits one by one. Betting against him now feels more like denial than analysis. 2 years ago, Lane Hutson was a 62nd overall gamble, a 5'9" question mark, a maybe someday prospect. Now, he's the Calder Trophy winner, Montreal's offensive engine, the face of a franchise desperate for a new star. And the problem for the NHL is that he isn't playing by the rules. He isn't a defenseman in the traditional sense. He's a fourth forward, a chaos engine, a player who bends defensive systems until they snap. That's the Hutson problem. Coaches can't scheme him away, defenses can't predict him, and the more teams chase him, the more he makes them pay. The Canadiens didn't just draft a defenseman, they unleashed a new archetype onto the league. And whether Hutson's future ends with Norris trophies or simply years of highlight reel chaos, one thing is already certain: the NHL has never seen a player quite like him. The smallest defenseman on the ice just created the biggest problem in the league, and the rest of hockey still has no idea how to solve it.